Part of my drawing process is exploring. These drawings happen during an online session with a model and other artists working at the same time. It took around 2 hours. So there is not an exact plan for the final piece or image. The session started with 1 to 2 minutes poses, and later it changed for 5 to 10 minutes each pose. This session was called Distorted, and it had a lot of moments where the camera was in a specific angle where some of the form of the body got very exaggerated, where I found it very fun and challenging. In this process, you can see that I also do a lot of marks that don't stay all the way through sometimes. I tend to erase constantly, not by just using an eraser, but using other things like my hands, cloth, stretching, covering or softening, or even just covering with paper. For me, erasing isn't undoing, it's part of the process. Each removal leaves a trace, and those traces are often more interesting to me when I look at the final piece. Being in a shared space like this, even online, changes a lot how I work. Seeing other artists struggle, adjust, take risks also gives me permission to do the same thing. And later on in this piece that you see here, I was even struggling a little bit, trying to find the proportions of the pose that I was looking at. And I also don't usually feel pressure to have it right away because I really like to explore that frustration and that feeling that is behind it. So I feel free to stay with the process and let the image arrive slowly, sometimes ripping the paper, trying different colors, or looking at it in a totally different point of view. In this case, I was struggling with this pose specifically, but then the 5 minutes ended and the pose changed, and my whole process also kind of came along with it, and the whole thing changed as well, as you can see. So I started having some fun with it. I started ripping some paper, trying to find shapes of the body. So I was actually drawing, but drawing while cutting the paper and experimenting a lot with that, seeing what the paper over the previous drawing that I was doing, what was like happening, and how could I use those shapes to kind of almost in this case I end up just erasing the whole sketch underneath, but I was trying to make the sketch even appearing maybe a little bit on the paper afterwards, but it didn't really went that way. So I feel like these drawings are less about the final result and more about the moment that I was in and what I was leaning towards. I always love to participate in these sessions because I feel like it's a shared time. I feel like the way that we work is often very isolated, and having the possibility of sharing it with other people and other artists as well often makes me feel very motivated for what comes. And I often don't like to work alone that much. So, um, so yeah, it also allows me to look at different things that I'm not expecting when I'm looking at the other artist's results. So that also potentially leads me to create something different or just stop overthinking it so much, like I sometimes do. I feel like everybody kind of feels that way at a certain point. So I was really leaning into this like moment in the center, that shape in the center, and like that hole in the center in this piece. And and then I go over with it and kind of draw it more and understand the shape better and what makes sense. And I also wanted to play a little bit with the lights that was coming from behind and the shadow that was being created in the background. So that defined line that you see that is blue is actually like the almost the horizon line. And then I was creating a little bit of shading, that was like the shade on the wall in this case. And now I'm just trying to glue everything to see if nothing falls down. So this is also very fast paced because the model is constantly changing her position, and I'm kind of like, I don't want to miss out on anything. So I'm always trying to end one, start a new one with a new pose and like going through that. So I was really leaning in this case, or in this example, I was really leaning into this collage, almost in this collage um, experimentation that I was doing, kind of mixing the drawing with the lines of the cuts and um, and almost like really drawing with just the scissors. As you can see, I'm not really using any sketch behind it or underneath it, just using the sketch more to create some shapes and shades um, of the pose itself. So I'm really just having some fun, really. And sometimes I try to see if some shapes that I already have cut make sense um, to the final shape that I want to achieve, of course. And yeah, and I think that's really how this session went. I often also do these sessions while I'm streaming. I do some live streamings on Twitch here and there, and some of these pieces were created during a live stream that I did a few days ago. Um, and yeah, here just also to show and to really embrace this experiment experimentation side of mine that I've always really leaned to. Um, like I said before, this session was 2 hours, so I did end up cutting this video a lot. And if you want to see and check out the rest of the other images, you can also check my Instagram or TikTok, and you can follow the links below. And that's really that. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.